Good afternoon, dear guests. I would like to welcome all of you to our Luviset 360 webinar. Luviset 360 is our new styling polymer, which is mainly being used in hair gels, waxes, and pump sprays. To give a brief information on how we will continue this webinar, I will explain the main characteristics of the product. Jessica will inform you about the 6 dimensions of great technical properties of the product, and Christina will inform you about the sensory assessment and formulation. And at the end, we will also show you and explain the detailed project we did with a Spanish hairdresser, in which we show how we achieve great styles on the real hair. And we will show a nice video of that too. Before we begin explaining the details of the product, we believe that it's best if we take a look at what the consumer wants in styling market. What do they expect from a styling product? Well, for sure, they want clear gels with low or sometimes no flow behavior that can stay in a jar when it's turned upside down, like this. And they want products that are easy to use and that slides nicely on the hand and easy to apply. They want the styling effect to last long, even at high humidity conditions. They want perfect hold of the hair, and they don't want to see this flaking of the polymer parts and bits on their heads, on the dress. It doesn't look good, so it's definitely uncomfortable for them. And how does Luviset 360 differentiate itself? How it's different from the products in the market? So first of all, it has superior styling performance in comparison to PVP, PVPVA, especially in long-lasting hold with high humidity. It has comparable rheology versus PVP and acrylic cross polymer as ingredient benchmark. The products, the final product with Luviset 360 has superior styling performance versus market product benchmarks. And Luviset 360 needs less carbomer thickener to achieve target viscosity, which is very important in efficiency and cost. And Luviset 360 has self-thickening property after 4% active butter. So 3 most important things about Luviset 360. It is self-thickening, it has superior styling performance, and it needs less carbomer to thicken to the same amount. So here is some technical information about the product itself. So it's an acrylate copolymer. And here you see the appearance is a very nice milky white dispersion. So this is the original product itself that you see on the screen. Its solid content is between 28-32%, pH value is between 3 to 6, and acid value is between 75 to 100. Based on the very detailed and very long performance tests that were done on the product, we found that Luviset 360 is very strong in 6 dimensions, which are strong hold, long-lasting hold, flexible hold, low flaking, different and nice product textures, and anti-pollution benefits, which we'll explain all of them one by one. They are all going to be explained by Jessica. To identify the 6 dimensions of the products, of course, we used many different methods to do the performance test of Luviset 360. The first one that you see on the left, bending stiffness, is a method to determine the strength of hold by measuring the force, which is needed to break the film on a pre-treated hair strand. And curve retention and long-lasting hold shows the resistance of the polymer film against high humid conditions. Flaking is assessed by counting the little flakes after combing. Flow behavior is measured with a rheometer, and anti-pollution effect is measured with a specially developed method where the pollutant is applied in a vacuum chamber and counted before and after rinse off under a microscope. So this is how we perform these different performance tests to achieve the 6 different dimensions. And from now on, I would like to hand over to Jessica, please.
Okay, so hello everybody. Good afternoon. I would like to start with an overview on the market. So we have investigated benchmarks from regions from all over the world, from Turkey and from Mexico for emerging markets, and from the German market for the mature markets. And yeah, this landscape shows you the curl retention versus the binding stiffness. The curl retention is an indication for the long-lasting hold, and the binding stiffness is an indication for the strength of the hold of a product. And this picture shows how great the performance of Luviset 360 is and how flexible it really is. So you see the formulations with Luviset 360 are the red ones really on the top of this graph with high curl retention and high banding stiffness or with increasing banding stiffness with increasing amount of Luviset 360. This table is just an overview over the formulations tested that you can see we have tested from 1 to 4% of Luviset 360. We've also tested some benchmarks. This table is just to yeah, provide a basis for to understand the results of the performance tests later. So I start with the first dimension now, which is a strong hold, and this is performed with a banding stiffness measurement. This is a method of choice here. The banding stiffness is measured on flat hair strands of real hair at standard conditions of 65% relative humidity and 21 degrees. It's a three-point method where the maximum force is measured which is needed to break the polymer film on the hair strand. And the values are given in centinewton. So in this results, you can see the strength of Luviset 360 very well. These banding stiffness results of Luviset 360 formulations are comparable to benchmarks and mixtures. All banding stiffness of Luviset 360 formulations here in this graph are higher than the opposite benchmark mixtures. What's the most impressive thing is that Luviset 360 can reach the same banding stiffness like the benchmarks already at 2% active matter. And with 2% Luviset 360, you are really in a higher banding stiffness. So with increasing amount of Luviset 360, with boosting polymers, you can reach even much higher banding stiffnesses of about 1100 to 1200 centinewton. And this gives a great flexibility for the formulation options from formulations which are cost effective with 1%, where you have already a great banding stiffness, to very high and superior formulations containing polymer mixtures. So the second dimension for the hold is a long-lasting hold. There the methods of choice are curl retention and a long-lasting hold method we have. These methods are done at high humidity conditions. The first one is the curl retention I will show. For this test, the change of the length of the curled hair strand at a relative humidity of 90% is measured. And then at the end, the curl retention is given in percent. So, and these outstanding results show the resistance of Luviset 360 to high humidity conditions. So even at a concentration of 1% active matter of Luviset 360, the curl retention is already close to 100%. From 2% on, you are almost at 100%. And 1% is also over 90%. This means long-lasting hold is possible even for low-cost formulations, for example, for the emerging market, where you can't afford to spend more money. And this is a long-lasting hold which traditional polymers can't give, especially not at these low concentrations. So here a landscape chart again. This slide pictures what I've already mentioned before. You can see the Luviset 360 formulations in red here on the top. And independent of the concentration, all formulations with Luviset 360 are at the top with a curl retention close to 100%. You can see that 1% is a little bit lower, but still around or a little bit over 90%. And then you can see with increasing amount, you can also increase the banding stiffness. And this, yeah, is much better than the benchmarks you have, for example, from the emerging markets, which are far away in the curl retention and also in the banding stiffness. You won't get that high up to a banding stiffness. So this PVP or VPVA copolymer can't give you these performance. They are far away from the Luviset 360, even at 1%. We have another method which is called long-lasting hold. This is a test setup which is done for especially for hair gels, because some companies want to have flat strands tested, and here the change in the angle of the hair strand is measured and given as a number. Maybe you can better see it on the next graph. Here you see the two strands hanging down are the hair strands with the VPVA copolymer and the formulation with the PVP. If you see compared to that, after 24 hours at 90% relative humidity, all the Luviset 360 formulations are really, still keeping their performance from 1 to 4%, and also the mixtures. All the long-lasting holds is outstanding in this case for this product. Then we come to the third dimension, which is low flaking, which is always a problem at high or at strong hold products and high banding stiffnesses. So this method is done at a standard climate conditions of 40% relative humidity and 20 degrees. It's done on flat strands which come from the banding stiffness. And these strands are dry combed to generate flakes. And then these flakes are measured in a flaking box with a special light source. An image is taken of this hair strands, and the number of flakes is counted by a special imaging software. We have three parameters we determine here. It's the first one is the flaking on strands, which is the number of flakes on the hair strands. Then we have the combed out flakes, which is the number of flakes which has been combed out. And then we have the area fraction, and the area fraction is the area which is covered by flakes of the total area in percentage of the hair strand. Hmm? So here. So on this graph, you see the size of the flakes in blue, and you see the area fraction, so the area which is covered in flakes in green. The size of the flakes is generally a bit smaller with Luviset 360 compared to PVP and VAVP copolymer mixtures, which leads to less visibility of the flakes on the hair strands. And the standard formulation with PVP and carbomer on the left show high values for the flake size and the covered area, which indicates a strong flaking effect. The VPVA with carbomer shows a relatively good value for the area fraction, so not so bad in flaking, but these formulations, of course, cannot compete in banding stiffness or long-lasting hold at all with the Luviset 360 formulations, so they are not strong hold formulations. So, and then we have especially the formulation with Luviset 360 and Luvigel Fit, where the by flakes covered area, so the area fraction is very low, which indicates a very low flaking effect here, and we've seen a really synergistic effect between Luviset 360 and Luvigel Fit. This is also in other dimensions a very, very good, excellent formulation. So we have also a microscopy method to support this, this flaking or non-flaking effect, or this claim by pictures. Is it visualizes the flakes and the nature of the flakes. And here you see how it can be visualized with a Hyrax digital system. And so here we have a picture. This comparison shows the advantage of the low number and the less visible flakes of the Luviset 360 formulation compared to the PVP formulation on the left. So even with a higher amount of carbomer, which is used in this case, which normally leads to more flaking and gives a negative effect, this formulation still shows a less flaking than the standard PVP formulation. So the next is again an overview to summarize this performance tests which have been done. So this is bending stiffness versus flaking, and this landscape shows the relation of the area fraction, so the area which is covered by flakes and makes flakes visible, and the bending stiffness. And so high bending stiffness with low area fraction is a target most customers hit for. And you can see here, especially with Luviset 360 at 4%, but also with additional Luvigel Fit, show extraordinary results here with a very strong bending stiffness and being in this green, marked in this green cloud at a low area fraction, but a high bending stiffness. You can also influence the flaking effect by additives. For example, in this case, it's gluadine Kera, which is also influencing the flaking effect with Luviset 360 even more positively. So the next dimension is flexibility of hold. Usually very strong hold formulations are very hard and break. So this method shows how flexible the film is still being strong. The method is similar to the bending stiffness, but it's a 2-point method instead of a 3-point method. Here in this case, the deflection is measured right below the force which is needed to break the film. And it shows the elasticity of the film as a flexural modulus. And this flexural modulus is calculated by the ratio of the force needed to break the film in the numerator and the product of the width of the hair strand and the deflection in the denominator. This means it's influenced by the binding stiffness, which the force which is needed to break the film, and the deflection as the width of the hair strand is a given set factor here. So what you have to keep in mind now, the lower the flexural modulus is, the more flexible the film is. As the higher the deflection is, the number gets smaller. Usually strong batting stiffness leads not necessarily to high deflection. If the film is brittle, it breaks without too much deflection. With Luviset 360, the force and the deflection is higher than with many other polymers. Of course, you can reach kind of flexible films with PVP or VPVA polymers, but these these don't have these high bending stiffnesses. So the film breaks at lower bending stiffnesses. On this picture, you can see two types of flexible hold. We have this more natural, low flexural modulus, which is a natural hold, which gives flexible, pliable film. So the bending stiffness is not too high, but it has a good deflection. You could compare it with a straw. Then we have the high flexural modulus, a strong flexible hold on the right side. You could compare it with the bamboo. So you have a high deflection and a high bending stiffness, which means the film is more resilient. There are also cases if you combine formulations which have very high bending stiffnesses, but a high flexural modulus because the film is more brittle and breaks more. This would, for example, happen if you combine it with Luviset, Luviquat Supreme. If you want to have a crisp hold and not a flexible hold, you should use then a different combination. So, but in this landscape, the flexible hold is shown from the natural on the left to the strong flexible hold on the right. And especially the combination with Luvigel Fit in this case supports this strong flexible hold. There's really a synergistic effect there. Other combinations of polymers could, for example, lead to a more crisp hold and would then be higher up in the flexural modulus. If you would compare this to VP, VA formulations, you would be more in the natural flexible hold, but you wouldn't have this high bending stiffness, so you don't have this strong hold you have with Luviset 360. And of course, you don't have this long-lasting hold because these polymers doesn't give this long-lasting hold at high humidity. Then the fifth dimension I would like to discuss is the anti-pollution claim. This test was done to show the effect of Luviset 360 on the adhesion of pollutants to the hair. In this case, the adhesion of particulate matter. This test was done on 3 times ultra bleached Asian hair in this case. We've used single hair fibers which have been fixed in a vacuum glass reactor. And then 5 milligrams of activated carbon was taken through this reactor by vacuum. Afterward, the adhesion of the particulate matter on the fiber was evaluated by microscope and by an imaging software. So on this picture, you can see the comparison of Luviset 360 formulation versus the placebo formulation. The application of the formulation with Luviset 360 leads to much less adhesion of this particulate matter compared to the placebo formulation or the formulation without Luviset 360. And in the second step, the fiber was rinsed with Texapone NSO solution, so with SLES solution, and also the particulate matter which adhered to the hair fiber could be rinsed almost completely from the hair fiber where the Luviset 360 formulation had been applied. And while particles remained on the hair fiber, which has been treated with a placebo only. Theory behind this could be that Luviset 360 makes the hair more hydrophobic. We know that Carbomer makes these results worse, so if you want to have a very good anti-pollution effect, then it's good to use Luviset 360 as the only polymer. So these are the numbers to the pictures you have seen before, but I think the pictures are already very impressive. So there's less adhesion of the formulation containing Luviset 360 and a better rinse off of the particles for the placebo. The last dimension, the sixth dimension, is the texture of the product, especially in emerging market. We have often these big jars where this stronger, more solid texture, heavier texture is asked for. This dimension is tested in a standard procedure with a rheometer, measuring the flow curve by applying shear stress. Luviset 360 shows a low flow texture in the container, so the shear stress which is applied when you move a container. This you can see better on the next slides, on the graphs. So most modern polymers with better long-lasting hold, which is the case for Luviset 360, usually do not give this no flow behavior in a container. One example is this acrylate cross polymer 3, which is this black graph, easily flowing when you move the container. And the Luviset 360 formulation is comparable in this range with all the PVP, BA, copolymer with carbomer formulations. So it can compete with this, but having much higher binding stiffnesses and of course having long-lasting hold, which these formulations can't provide. So if the customer asks for even stronger, more heavy texture. It would be also an option to combine Luviset 360 with Luvigel Fit again in this case, because there is also a synergistic effect in the texture, and you get very compact formulations. And this is an excellent example for this kind of formulations here. So now for the sensory assessments, I'd like to hand over to Christina.
Thank you, Jessica. Good afternoon to everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here today and continue the explanations of my colleagues. So after all the objective results shown by Jessica that give this good performance or approve this good performance of the product Luviset 360, we wanted also to check the product as the perception, no? Because for consumers it's not only important these objective results, but also the perception of the product, either in the form of the gel or during the application or even after the application, comparing with other polymers. So for that reason, we tested the gels in pairs in a method that the panelists were applying the product on hair strands, on wet hair, and then they were giving and comparing the opinion, perceiving the two products. And then also when afterwards the products were, the strands were dried on climate chambers under control conditions, then they were comparing as well the two products and they were giving their opinion. So in that case, we have started testing the polymer at 2% concentration, 2% active, the Luviset versus 2% active of PPBA copolymer. In both cases, the gels were thickened with carbomer. And here in this diagram, you can see the results during the application, the perception of the gel application and the distribution over the wet hair strands. And the results of the reference, which was BBBA, are shown as a zero line. So these are the reference values. And the data of the gel with Luviset 360 are plotted here with the dots. So in this comparison showed an overall application or perception of both gels as comparable, because these circles were not statistically different. This was the application on wet hair and the application of the gel and the hair strands. But once that these hair strands were dried, and especially when this was applied on a mannequin head, where the panelists were able to observe the differences in a three-dimensional way, the product was perceived as better performing, better, higher stiffness and better hold. This was consistent with the results that also we have seen before concerning stiffness was higher in this kind of system. In addition to this polymer, we tested as well the PPP. So we were very interested in seeing the perception of the panelists comparing our Luviset with the PVP. Here you have in the graph again the application, so the results of the application of both gels and the perception. You can see here higher peak and cushion and less aqueous perception for the formulation that was prepared with Luviset versus the PVP. So the formulation was perceived as richer. And when we tested this, when the hair was again dry, the strands were again dry, and we have applied this also in the mannequin heads to see the three-dimensional perception. We could observe that it was perceived as better styling, but more flexible, and especially softer the hair. And what we considered that was very, very important was the flecking values, because flecking was perceived as really less than PVP, that is known in the market being a product that is giving some flecking. So considering either the objective results and the sensory assessment done, we can see that Luviset 360 is giving better efficacy objectively, but also we can say that the product is perceived as better than BPVA or PVP in these hairstyling formulations. So this was kind of some simple formulations, but then we thought how we can formulate with the product. So we have created a complete formulations for inspiration. So we have a collection of formulas that we can provide to you, from gel to spray, creams or waxes. And the inspiration was done especially thinking in the appearance or the whole, or providing economical solutions, special textures, etc. And today we want to introduce to you a few of them. So we have the crystal clear hair gel. This is an example of a formulation where we are using 4% active of this Luviset. This means 13% in the formulation. The product is neutralized with triethanolamine, but there are also other possibilities with other bases that can be used as neutralizing agent, like AMP or sodium hydroxide. And in this formulation, Luviset has really is the expression of the two roles of this product in the formulations. In one side is the responsible of the high fixation degree. As you can see here, the values 700 is quite high, and the resistance to the humidity is almost 100%. So really the performance of the product in terms of styling performance is really high. But also, as you can see, it's the only polymer used in that formulation, so it's the responsible to give the texture, so the viscosity of the formulation. The formula is transparent, crystal clear, and has a low flow behavior. In the case that we can work with a slightly lower content of polymer, this formulation contains 2% active, so it's 6.7 in the formulation of this product. In this case, we have neutralized as well with triethanolamine, and this polymer is the responsible of the performance. You can see here also, even having lower content of Luviset, the cool retention values are also very close to 100. So very good performance in that case. To obtain the right viscosity, we have combined this product with Carbomer, in that case, our ReoCare C+. So the final texture that you can observe here in the photos is a transparent gel that has a no flow behavior. The next texture is a very interesting one because it's the one that corresponds to this very high curve in the rheology. So this compact gel that Jessica was explaining is a real non-flow gel, and it's prepared with a synergistic mixture of two polymers from our portfolio, the Luviset, here at 2% active, with 2% active as well of Luvigel Fit UP, which is a polymer that was designed in the past by our company as a special thickener for styling gels. So this nice combination, as you can see here, provides a value of 900 in stiffness. So this is a very high value of fixation, and also outstanding performance with respect to the humidity, to the external humidity. So this is one very interesting formulation, because with this formula that is showing very low flecking and also this anti-pollution, really we can see that this mixture of the two polymers is providing the very low flecking, so less flecking comparing with all the rest of formulations created, strong and flexible hull, excellent anti-pollution properties, and also no flow behavior. You will see later on that we have tested this formulation in three styles. You will see it in the video, and we can perceive in the video the flexibility that here is claimed. Sorry, I have go too fast. So we have said that Luviset is 360 is a very versatile product. So can be used alone, as we have seen, combined, but not only in styling gels. Also, we can create different textures. Like in this case, we have created a gel wax. This formulation is a very special texture that is also having a very nice application on here, as you will see later on. And it's prepared with 3%, which means 1% active of Luviset, with 2% active of Tinovis GTC. This product is here used as a thickener, but this product is one very interesting polymer in our portfolio because also have some emulsification properties, and is also having a thixotropy. So in this formulation is providing a very special texture. You see here this blue gel. So when you are taking out the gel from the jar, you can perceive like small portions of ice that are very well and very easily spread on the hands. And once that you let rest the product on the packaging, after a certain time, the surface is becoming again smooth. So you can have the product afterwards as you are starting, like, well, from zero, no? Like it was not used. So this formulation has also a high stiffness in the range of 640 centinewtons. And here this combination is also providing a high cool retention after 5 hours, somehow a bit lower after 24 hours. And the last texture that we want to introduce today, as I'm saying, you can also contact your local BSF contacts, and then they will provide you wider ideas for inspiration. So it's this illumination fever gel. So the way is a gel where we have included, prepared with high ethoxylated non-ionic surfactants as providers of the fixation. And we have increased the fixation, and we have modified the texture as well by the introduction of this 3% of Luviset 360. This is a gel that has a very nice fever appearance that is giving some thickness, and that you will see later on in the application on the video how it's very easy to apply on the hair and is providing hair gloss. So I would like now to share with you the video that we have prepared with the help of Trinidad Solano. She's a professional hairdresser that is teaching hairdressing in the Institute Salvador Seguí from Barcelona. And she has tested the products in 2 mannequin heads with natural hair. One mannequin is a female mannequin and the other is a male mannequin, and you will see the different styles that she has created. So let me share now the video. I will say to comment a bit what was prepared and what was obtained. Every formulation has at the end certain emoticons that are summarizing the characteristics of the different commands from the hairdresser, so they can become a kind of profile or characteristic of this formulation from the point of view of the hairdresser. So let me try to introduce this video. Okay, so you will see these are the emoticons. one of the that I love more is the bamboo one, no? So these are the formulations that we have tested with the hairdresser. We will just see a few of them, but the videos will be available with our local BSF colleagues as well, if you want to see them. So the first formulation that we have tested was the combination of Luviset 360 and Luvigel Fit UP. So this synergistic effect and was tested in a female mannequin. The product was applied on wet hair. Hairdresser is always towel drying the hair, and then she's applying the product. In that case, she was with the help of the diffuser, she was creating this wavy hair that was giving some volume, was potentiating the waves, shine, and very important, no residues on the hair. So the product was very well perceived to obtain this wavy hair. In this case, for the male mannequin, the application was done. You can see here the texture of the gel was done also in towel dried hair. And you can see that she was perceiving like the hair fibers were sticking together, forming like kind of film on the wet hair. But what was nice is once that the hair was dried, really she was not perceiving any residue. What hair was smooth and it was not compact. So that film perceived gave a kind of natural style with wet look, but really non-compacting the hair. So she was able to perceive here the no residues and also this flexible hull that you can see here with the bamboo. This was a test done in 3 steps with a female mannequin. So the first step was to apply the styling gel over this towel dry hair and creating some curls. That once that they were dry, just air dried, she take out the curls and you can see this wet effect, but nice with firm hold. But surprisingly, was very easily to brush. So there was not showing any resistance to the brushing and was helping as well to create some, to modify the style, just also with the fingers, was able to create some shape definition. So the style was loose without losing the wavy shape. And imparting some movement to the hair. These natural waves that had the mannequin were coming out. So the product was perceived as, depending on how it was treated, able to create 3 different styles. The next formulation is the illumination fever gel. This is the mixture of the Luviset with the non-ionic surfactants in the mannequin head. The application was on partially wet hair. You can see here the texture. I was saying to you that this has a kind of fiber texture. It was perceived as slightly sticky, but easy to distribute, and was giving shiny look to the hair. You can see how easily she could create the style with the fingers. Just giving this with the fingers. And then finally, the touch with the high dryer, directionally dried, was able to give the final appearance to the mannequin head. This was a gentleman style. You can see that the appearance was a flexible fin but fixed as a brilliantine. And very important to see that to create this kind of styles, of course, having no residues is very important. And the last is the ice memory gel wax, so the mixture with Dinovis GTC. This ice with a special rheology. The idea was to obtain a toupee, so the hair was also towel dried. The texture was perceived as gelatinous, thick after application on the hands, but was easy to apply. And you can see after the application, it was directionally dried with the hair dryer. She observed no residues. And it was amazing the appearance of this flexible and volume hair, no? That was giving a very interesting application of this product. in all cases, no residues observed. We are thanks to Trinidad for the engagement and the cooperation, and I think I'm going to share the ball now with Bilinch.
Yes. Thank you very much, Jessica and Christina, for these great technical explanations. It's highly appreciated. So as a summary, Luviset 360 is a very nice specific polymer which is tailor-made for low flow or no flow gels in container. Luviset 360 is an improved polymer dispersion for clear styling gels with which you can have very nice clear appearance, which is very important in such gels. And it can be used with combination with carbomers, or it can be used alone, because which is the next point. We just mentioned that it is self-thickening after 4% active matter. And Luviset 360 leads to significantly less flaking, which is compared to polymers, PVP-based conventional polymers, which is highly appreciated, of course, because the consumers doesn't like that. Okay, I think this was all. Thank you very much for being with us, and we hope that you enjoyed our session. Have a great afternoon.
BASF. We create chemistry.